joining us on the phone is the secretary to the Emil Short Commission of Inquiry, Mr. Kofi Abotsi. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. Hello, Mr. Abotsi.
Yes, hello, Thompson.
Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us on Newsfile.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Right. So this an onerous responsibility entrusted in the commission, right?
It is. It is in the light of the subject matter to be investigated, and in the light of our history as a country, and the fact that we have elections a year from now. It certainly is an onerous responsibility. And I think it's also one that places an obligation on all of us, because we are collective shareholders in our commonwealth. And if we do not support this country, that's what we have. So yes, I certainly see it as an onerous responsibility, and hopefully we'll be able to discharge the mandate.
Great. We'll support you in prayer and all that is required so that you succeed. But many may not appreciate the terms under which you are going to work properly. So can you assist us? Beyond the black letter that we see in the terms, what is it that you are capable of doing or not capable of doing?
I don't think there's more to it than what appears in the CI, and what generally has been put out there. I think you read it at the beginning of your program. So in simple terms, we have to investigate all matters connected with the election that was conducted in the Iowa Oregon and surrounding issues. Again, I have to be very careful about the things I say here, because at this stage, it's very easy for people to preempt things. Nothing has been preempted, but from the reportage in the media, I think we all know that the elections did not go as planned. We all know that there were incidents of security breaches. We all know, apparently, from the public, again, the reports, that there were some apparently, issues involving complaints of manhandling, complaints of persons who were not supposed to be there, who were there, and all kinds of other complaints, the details of which I would not go into at this stage to preempt anything, because that is supposed to be the subject of investigation. But clearly, from the media reportage, the election did not go as planned. And so the mandate of the commission, in very short and simple terms, is to investigate the. Again, as noted by you, the mandate of the commission is not to investigate generally things surrounding the by-elections in Ghana. It is the Iowa West Oregon. So it is specific to a particular place. That is not to say, however, that the recommendations or the outcome of the findings of the commission cannot be applied generally and across the country. Because, truth be told, the problems and challenges surrounding the conduct of by-elections in Ghana appear cross-cutting. And so whatever the outcome of the commission's mandate is, the expectation is that the application will benefit the country generally, especially as we head into a major election in 2020.
So what kind of vehicle, as it were, use of experts or offices is the commission going to rely on? Because there may be need to investigate, there may be need to do some forensic analysis. How is the commission planning to execute the mandate in respect of all these other matters?
The commission was inaugurated only yesterday.
Right.
And the government has indicated its full support for the commission's work. The government has also indicated, at least at the inauguration, its detachment from the process, and therefore there isn't going to be interference, or there isn't going to be some kind of manipulation of any kind. The government has indicated that it's going to provide all the logistical and human resource capacity requirements for the commission to deliver on its mandate. And therefore, starting from Monday, the commission is going to start putting together the basics that are required for it to do its work. As you indicated, if there's a need for us to do field investigations, which possibly may be the case, if there's a need for some forensic capacity, the government has indicated that whatever is necessary for the commission to do its work, it stands ready to provide the support. And so my expectation is that if we need, as you indicated, for example, some forensic capacity, if we need a collaboration of allied institutions, whatever the commission needs, the government has indicated its preparedness. But beyond the government, the commission is actually constitutionally grounded. And therefore, in that respect, what it means is that if the commission, for example, issues subpoenas for people to attend to the commission's work, the commission gives out certain orders for allied institutions and agencies of state to provide some facilitation or to collaborate or cooperate with the Commission's work. The expectation is that all and sundry will cooperate. So the mapping and the coordination and the entire assessment of the scope of work would obviously begin from Monday, and our hope is that given the caliber of the Commission is involved, this shouldn't be a problem. The Commission will be able to deliver on its mandate moving forward.
Okay. Has the Commission already begun thinking about the timelines it's been giving, 1 month?
Again, as I indicated, when you are set up by an entity or by a body such as the government in this case, and you are given a mandate, you don't immediately complain about the time frame without assessing the scope of your work.
Right.
So the Commission will have a proper clarity of the quantum of work involved as it starts its work. Even that, the Commission may not know, and nobody has to preempt anything, the Commission may not know whether or not it will be able to complete its work in the beginning phases. Things will become clearer as the Commission actually gets into full flight, and as witnesses appear before the Commission, and as an assessment is made of time. If it becomes necessary for an extension of time, the expectation again is that, given the fact that government has indicated its preparedness to support the Commission's work, if the Commission justifies the necessity for an extension of time, I do not expect that this will be an issue or difficulty between the government and the Commission at all. Okay. Because ultimately, the expectation is that the work done must be sufficient and adequate and must cover the scope of the mandate given, and that in the end, whatever product the Commission generates will lead to the sustainable resolution of the problem. Okay. And I've heard people question the usefulness or the utility of the Commission, and some have actually been worried about the fact that the Commission may create a certain foreclosure of people having to go to court on the back of the things the Commission is supposed to investigate. First of all, I think we need to be clear on this. There is nothing in our law that says that when the Commission of Inquiry investigates a matter, that matter is completely precluded from becoming the subject of a criminal proceeding. What the court said, and again, it's useful for us to know that the court that decided this was the High Court. And so while the President stands in the meantime, it is not a finality of our laws in the circumstance. But what the court said in that case was that where a person appears before a commission, and in the particular case, the CI specifically said witnesses have immunity in respect to the things they testified on. Now, where a witness has been granted immunity from prosecution in respect to the testimony he gives before a commission, you cannot use the same testimony or the same evidence before a court of law. In the context of what we have today, even though witnesses enjoy the same degree of constitutional immunity, the CI does not specifically grant immunity. But what may actually happen in our case is that where a witness appears and gives testimony, while you can't use that testimony in court, the police can conduct their parallel investigation, and that parallel investigation, if they're able to secure evidence which is outside of the testimony given before the commission, that evidence could be the subject of criminal prosecution. So that fear that commissions of inquiry is actually, when used, as it were, precludes any further investigation, any further criminal proceeding, is not the case. And I think that particular case has been widely overread. That it's been given a much broader scope and breadth than was intended in that case. And again, I just want to reiterate that this commission's work would not preclude any criminal investigation and prosecution if the police decide to embark on their own. But the reason why a commission is necessary is because the issues that we're dealing with are bigger than just regular incidents of criminality. We're dealing with major issues of structural dysfunction. We will be dealing with issues of institutional coordination, security agencies and their alignment. We may be dealing with issues involving the fact that they may have even been abused of certain constitutional bodies, among others. When you have such issues to be dealt with, dealing with a mere issue of criminality may be dealing with the symptoms as opposed to dealing with the foundational issues. So constitutional commissions are designed to deal with problems that go beyond just the regular incidents of criminality like I just mentioned. And that's why the Constitution says that where the President deems it fit, and Parliament also deems it fit, to establish a commission of inquiry in the public interest, in the national interest, they are the authorities to do. I believe that what we witnessed goes beyond just a case or two of criminality. It goes to the very foundations of how our security services and agencies and allied institutions, among others, all operate. And so without proffering any judgment at all, there's the need for us to look into it so that the Commission can come out with lasting solutions moving forward so we do not have the recurrence of this, because it's been happening too often.
Thank you very much. We wish you well as you begin work on Monday.
I need that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Dr. Ernest Kofi Abotsi is Secretary to the Emil Short Commission of Inquiry, which many have hailed as the best that you could assemble, with Professor Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu also on that commission. So.